Come along with me on a tour of Templo Mayor, a virtual tour of that. I hope you enjoy this, and please do subscribe and ring the bell if you enjoy this content so you won't miss any upcoming episodes. I'm standing between the cathedral and the ruins of Templo Mayor as I shoot this, and I'm going to show you some models, and then I'm going to walk you through the museum. You might want to check out my Facebook page for a lot more photos and a lot of information explaining what each of the exhibits really is. And stay tuned for more. Here it comes. So this is the model of the center of the Aztec world, Templo Mayor, the ruins of which are standing in the background. They were raised to build colonial buildings and churches, cathedrals, and such, as the conquistadors were famous for throughout Latin America. You can see what's left over here. This was recently found in the 1970s while doing some construction at a former parking lot, and they uncovered the ruins. And why they're so small is, you see those red blocks that make up the cathedral? Well, that was the pyramids. And there are other buildings around here from the colonial era that were built from the rocks raised from this site. Then they buried it and built more stuff on top of it. You can also see additional red blocks, building blocks across the street behind Templo Mayor from this angle as I zoom in. And those also came from the pyramids. Now, to give you an idea of what this place looked like, when Cortez came here, it looked like an island like this in a big lake with causeways. These causeways could be removed, and they were when the Aztecs rebelled against conquistadors. In the ensuing chaos as the conquistadors tried to retreat, many fell off the causeways or lack thereof, as there's a lot of pushing and shoving and fighting, and they drowned, primarily because they were greedy and loaded down with lots of gold. This nice map of what the location looked like in prehistoric times, along with labels for important settlements around the lake, the Basin of Mexico, which is where Mexico City is now located. The Spaniards drained the lake, filled it in, built this city up, and if you look very carefully, you can tell that some of the buildings are no longer quite vertical or straight, as the old lake bed is settling, and the heavy buildings they built upon it are kind shifting and leaning. So this is the remains of the final seventh temple that Cortez saw, and the steps just beyond it are from the sixth temple. You see the fifth and the fourth, and so on. If you were inside, there were 7 in total. Each one was built over the top of the previous. I will show you a model inside that further explains that. They have the snake heads covered up to protect them from acid rain and further deterioration under those tarps. So, and for Richard Hall, here's the stone you're asking about. Actually, this is a recreation, a molded one from the original. The original is inside the museum, and I intend to show it to you. If you look closely here, you can see some snake heads, carvings sticking out of the temple wall that's still remaining. I'll zoom in a little. Let me give you an idea of the ornateness. This after centuries being raised and buried. You can imagine what it looked like in its splendor. So this model demonstrates how each temple was built upon the previous one, as you can see. Red temple on top of the pyramid was dedicated to the war god, and the blue was dedicated to fertility and rain, the god thereof. You can see the exterior of the final temple in the background, or what wasn't raised to build other buildings, at least. Surrounding the temple would have been sacred plants and especially sacred trees. And inside the museum that I just left with the model, there is remains of one of the sacred trees. There's not a lot left, but it's definitely worth a look. And while this virtual tour might be interesting, if you ever come to Mexico, you should really check this place out in person. It'd be well worth your experience, time, and the minor $8 fee for entry. This is my second visit to the interior of the museum. I came here on my first day to Mexico City. It's now 1 week later, and I'm taking another view of it and trying to give you a little bit of advantages from my first trip and the two guides that I used to learn more about this area. Here you can see the sewer that was cut through here in 1900 when this was a street and had buildings on both sides. As you can look further, you can see how the road continues. And the continuation of the same sewer. You can see some of the remnants of pipes that did drain some of the buildings. And the continuation of the street to the east. So here's some more of the ruins, the sewer. And you can see how over the centuries there has been some settling. As you can see the rippled depths over there. Look at this intricate carving. This was a very ornate place in its heyday. And this void was a place where offerings were laid when a new temple was built upon this one that you're now seeing. This one's deep inside of the final temple, or seventh, as far as they know. There could have been more underneath. They're kind of concerned to excavate any deeper with concerns that it might cause more collapsing and destabilization of the soils. And here you can see the remains of one of the plazas, which also has shifted over time, as this was on a man-made island in the middle of a huge lake. It has sank over the centuries. This is for the god of rain and fertility. Really cool artwork. It's really kind of complicated with all these layers. They left a lot of the ornamentation and just buried it as they built the new one on top of the old one. From this view and the cutaway of the sewer, you can kind of appreciate how the different layers are arranged. This archway was built by the Spaniards. It was apparently above the only part of the platform preserved at that time or era. And this ornamentation was to the war god. You see the cathedral conveniently located next to the quarry. The quarry being the pyramids they raised for building materials. I'm not sure that they did a better job with the raw materials than the beauty of the original structures that they raised. Not quite the stark contrast of the Inca ruins, where the Spaniards built directly upon the old temples with their cathedrals, and well, the stonework of the cathedrals just didn't measure up in that case. Here's an example of the structure, what's underneath the plaza. You see the layers. And you can clearly see here how, due to time and the settling of the man-made island, that this is tilted over to the left as you're viewing it. It was not built leaning in the beginning, of course. This is likely also exacerbated by the construction and destruction the Spaniards played upon this area. This is yet another angle and view of the ruins I've previously shown you as I was walking on the catwalks, where you can see the folks in the background walking now. Quite ornate. Beautiful. In here you can see yet again the dissection where the sewer was laid through the temple and pyramids, or ruins thereof, in 1900. The plaza. I strongly recommend that you hire a guide. Small price to pay. You'll get a lot more out of the experience. On my previous visits, I have. Yeah, another view angle there of the ruins, what the Spaniards left after they raised it for building materials before they buried it. Excavation of this awesome site began in earnest in the 1970s. And oh yeah, there was sacrifices. All these are stone representations of the skulls. So this is a model of the existing buildings and the ruins. And the stone my friend Richard was curious about. I'm going to try to give you a little bit of a panoramic view. See the big square. They don't have a Mexican flag on the flagpole. And they didn't fly it to give out deference to the indigenous people during the corn festival during the past week. You can see coverage of that in my previous videos. There are many examples of fine stonework inside this museum. And I'll show you the actual stone in a bit. You can look in my Facebook post if you really want to get some of the real detail about these exhibits. I carefully tried to document what I could, but you really should come in person. Many offerings were made in between the layers of the pyramids or through the buildings, including things like this. Those pieces of volcanic glass were used for ritual sacrifices. In some cases, nobles letting some of their own blood. In other cases, total human sacrifice. These carvings adorned the top of the temple dedicated to war and fire, as you might have noticed in the models that I videoed at the beginning. More intense artwork. Like I said, if you really want details about each of these exhibits, go visit my Facebook page. It'll have a lot more information. This wooden box was used to measure grains that were paid in tribute. And well, failure to pay your tribute or taxes resulted in your head adorning the display of skulls, where they lined them up in a lattice, basically, as I would call it. Much of these items were paid in tribute. Really like cool stuff in here. This box held offerings that were buried inside the temple complex. And for my pal Richard Hall, this is the stone you asked questions about. It can be seen better from the gallery above. I'll give you one more view in a bit. And this gives you an idea how ornate the temple was. This one obviously is painted such that it would have been on the left side of the temple for rain and fertility. It's a lot to see in here. Some more examples of offerings. And you can see the glass that's shown in there, sawfish bill. Tribute came from far and wide. Some more ornate carvings and masks, much as was paid as tribute. Spaniards raised and broke this up, but you can still see how beautiful it was. And yeah, it does cover trade and tribute. You can see the details and read all about it in my Facebook post. Just follow the link that I provided, or look down in the description for the link and other interesting links. I'm not going to try to cover it all now. I'm trying to give you a quick overview to add a little more substance to the Facebook post I've already made. And these items were collected far and wide through trade and tribute throughout the empire. Like I said, you might think it's a little fast, but I don't want to make the video too long and boring. And there's plenty of depth and detail within the Facebook post. You can read up to your heart's content there. I think that face jug is really something. Here you see the representation of the god of death with his liver showing. You can find a lot more on my Facebook post about him. Here's a representation of the eagle warrior. The jaguar warriors and the eagle warriors being very important and noble-like in standing. And these items were all excavated from the Templo Mayor. I know I sound like a broken record, but you can get all the depth and background through Facebook posts I've made on this subject already. I believe there's at least 8 of those with lots of photos and text for your enjoyment. I really hope you're enjoying this. So give me some feedback if you like this kind of content, and I'll make some more if you do. So leave some comments. I bet you can guess what that is about me telling you.
Whenever they were going to negotiate with an indigenous leader, the leader would always go like this.
And as you can see, it's not hard to find a guide, to have a guided tour if you're so inclined. I would recommend that. And in keeping with the importance of rain, here are some toads. And more evidence of human sacrifice and other tribute being paid to the gods. And river stones with the toad. And a large stone conch trumpet. Representation thereof. And this is an offering table. Made a pretty quick run through this. When I come by earlier, it took me much longer to make this progress because I stopped and read every text. And this is the puma, believe it or not, has been desecrated to some degree. It's about the flora and fauna. Lattice of snakes. Bobo. A puma. Puma skeleton. These are more common sacrifices than the jaguars, which are rare, especially in this area. Eagle. Mother of pearl. Amphibians and birds. Yep. Bobcats. Quail. Copal. Copal in particular. Their sacrifices are almost as a museum in of their own. And this is a jaguar skeleton. These were rare, much rarer sacrifices or offerings. So if you're interested in this, you should come to Mexico City and check out Templo Mayor. That's got to be the biggest puffer fish I've ever seen. More mother of pearl. Big clams. I'd say if you want more context, check out my Facebook post. We're on our way to room 7, Sala 7. another representation of the Mexican Basin. And this room is dedicated primarily to agriculture. These items are also extensively covered in the Facebook postings. You're welcome to visit and see, and you're welcome to follow me there too if you would like. In addition to a lot of cool travel stuff, there will be a lot of whitewater things during that season of the year, as that's how I promote my livelihood and share my passion. This area kind of makes a loop around. Here's one more ornate snakehead that would have been found at the base of the temple on the left side for the rain god of fertility. And this scene doesn't look hugely different than a current mercado. If you've been following me around for a few years, you've seen some crazy photos and videos from mercados in Ecuador and Peru. So if you enjoy this stuff, give me a shout out, let me know, and I'll try and make some more videos like this. Obviously this is Colonial. And one more you can do even better. If you share it with your friends and get some more views on it and help encourage people to subscribe, that will even more largely motivate me to make more videos of this nature. I need to get this channel up to at least 1,000 subscribers to unlock a lot of the useful features that you'll enjoy too. So at this point, it becomes a lot of information about colonial times, and these tiles all come from like basically the Moors and Islamic folks that the conquistadors eradicated from the Iberian Peninsula before turning their eyes onto the Americas and doing much same with its inhabitants. So yes, this is very colonial. Clearly. I find this part personally a little less interesting, but hey, give me some feedback and let me know what you think. Maybe you find it really interesting. I kind of enjoy the native cultures more myself. This shows you how the sewer system worked in ancient times and colonial times rather. That's how they got a lot of sediment out so that it wouldn't clog it up, and they could open those up like a manhole and clean it out occasionally. Not hugely different from how it's done today. Some more fragments. Oh yeah, and there's even stuff for kids in here. So bring your kids with you if you come to visit Mexico. Like I said, you can read a lot more about this on my Facebook post. Hope you're enjoying this. And if I'm not mistaken, we are nearing the end of the museum exhibits. I have skipped some. You'll get a lot more out of this in person, so enjoy and explore and learn about the culture. They basically burn the equivalents of incense in these. Kind of finishing up where we started, inside the building. And don't worry if you have a small bladder. There are ample and nice banyos. The bathrooms aren't bad in here. They even have toilet seats, which is unusual in a lot of places I visit down here. So, hope you do come see this place. And I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. And I'm going to show you the entrance / exit on my way out now. As I said, I took a lot of time on my first visit here. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. So, please do give me some feedback. Let me know what you liked, maybe what you didn't like, what you'd like to see in the future. If you want more of this, share it profusely and encourage your friends to share it and subscribe. And I'll make more. Like I said before, hiring a guide is the best way to make the most of this experience. So, be generous, support local guides, just like I hope you support me well when you come rafting with me. And hey, give them a tip. This is their livelihood. This is what they do. It isn't just for fun. And with that said, I'm going to run by a list of the many folks who have shown me some support and love, came rafting with me, and left me Benjamin Franklin or Ulysses Grant. Yeah, hundreds and fifties, single bills. I really like those. Wet ones at the takeout are awesome, and some lovely people have actually given them to me at the put-in or at lunchtime, halfway through running the upper to the middle of Coe. And yeah, I'm really missing cats and the fine food there. If you're up in McKaysville, Georgia, or Copper Hill, you got to drop in and ask for the kosher gravy and sausage and bacon. The bacon is bomber. The breakfast sandwiches are awesome. The bagels are good. It's really good. And hey, all kidding aside, it's a southern deli. You don't really expect food to be kosher, but it's really, really good. So tell Nancy hi and tell her Fred sent you. Love you. Well, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share it with your pals, and fire away with any questions you have in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them best I can. If you really want to support this channel, consider making a donation via Venmo or through PayPal, especially for those of you outside the United States that can't use Venmo. And I'd greatly appreciate that and would be happy to try to indulge you with whatever content you're looking for. Thank you. If you're wondering where all the missing material is, what happened to the pyramids? Well, you're looking at some of it right there in front of you. And while human sacrifice is tragic, don't lose sight of all the Native Americans that the conquistadors burned at the stake for their God. I can't say which is better or worse. I'm a bit of a heathen myself, but I don't think Jesus had in mind what the conquistadors did on this continent.